to everyone. The room is shifted that way, and every single person is sitting in that section far away. And guess what? I'm sure you figured out by now that the heat doesn't work in the sanctuary, which is why it might be cooler than you really want it to be. But if you're joining us online, welcome. It's an interesting day in Macon. We haven't had a day like this since 1982. That's a real statistic. It was 13 degrees when I drove into the synagogue today. So a lot of people are probably sitting on their warm couches, drinking their coffee in their flannel pajamas. But you troopers are here. Baruch Hashem. Shabbat Shalom and welcome. Now last week, it was pre-Hanukkah, but it would have been the appropriate time to play the Hanukkah music, but I decided to do it this week. So let's sing some Hanukkah tunes. And I was so thankful Irvin showed up, because Ocho Candelitas just would not be without Irvin. It couldn't be. Let me play you one that no one knows, which says, we give thanks for the miracles and for the salvations and for the mighty acts and for the victories and for the battles that you waged for our ancestors in those times, in those days at this time. ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה, על הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבורות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה, על הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבורות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. Now for fun, just try to sing it with me. It's a lot of complicated Hebrew, but you never get better if you don't try. So how about if I slow it down, Travis? Al hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. Now your turn. Ready? Go. ועל הפורקן ועל הגבורות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה, בימים ההם בזמן הזה, בימים בזמן הזה. Very good. Now, how about like a couple of words in Hebrew? How do you say dreidel in Hebrew? Sevivon. Sevivon. So here is your Sevivon song. Oh, wait, that's not right. It goes like this, Travis. Sevivon, sof sof sof, Hanukkah uchato. Sevivon, sof sof sof, Hanukkah uchato. Hashem, Aksimcha Ulam, Neskadolai Hashem, Sevivon, Sof Sof Sof, Hanukkah Uchato, Hanukkah Uchato, Sevivon, Sof Sof Sof, Aksimcha Ulam, Neskadolai Hashem, Neskadolai Hashem, Haksimcha Ulam. Sevivan so Hanukkah Uchatov Apima. Sorry, I got messed up. I was wondering what Clara's about to play up here, so how's it go? Hag Simcha Ulam Nes Gadol Hayasham Nes Gadol Hayasham Hag Simcha Ulam Hag Simcha Ulam Nes Gadol Hayasham Nes Gadol Hayasham Hag Simcha Ulam. It is truly difficult to be into this music right now. I just want to tell you that. So I think what I'm going to do instead is play my favorite Hanukkah parody song. Maybe bring up the next one. Written by my friend. I played it for you last year. Written by my friend and colleague Aaron Eby. It's called This Tradition, to a familiar tune that you might know. Can you think of a song from the 80s, very, very popular song, whose title might rhyme with This Tradition? There's a lot of them, but this is the one. Tradition, oh, the time has come. Anyone know that song? Okay, good. This tradition, oh, the time has come, and you know that it is always fun to play. Oh, baby, did you know just what the trade-offs for? No, these toys we got portray the war of Jews. It's true. One flask, and mama's worrying that oil won't last for 8 whole days. These traditions help so much in life. Don't you give them up before your time is due. It's true. With me now. It's true, yeah. Molding what's their priest define. They put ham in their diet and drove them all to fight. tradition, oh, the time has come, and you know that it is so much fun to play all day. From old to east, yeah, the Maccabee. Now what's the song called? Sister Christian, of course, right? This tradition. That I know. It's called Maos Tzor. Almighty stronghold of my salvation, to praise you is a delight. Restore the house of prayer. There will be a thanksgiving offering. These are the traditional words, and they get a little tough right here when it says, when you will have prepared the slaughter for the blaspheming foe. It's a little harder than like Silent Night or something. Then I shall complete with a song of hymn the dedication of the altar. It's a Hanukkah song. There's a much more beautiful traditional English section that we'll sing as well. Maos Tzor Yeshuati Lecha Na'eh L'Shabeach Tikom B'Tefilati V'sham Toda Nezabeach Li'etachin Matbeach Mitzaram B'shir mizmor Hanukkah HaMizbeach Azekmor B'shir mizmor Hanukkah HaMizbeach Rock of Ages, let our song praise your saving power. You amid the raging foes were our sheltering tower. Furious they assailed us, but your armor veiled us, and your word broke their soul. When our own strength failed us, and your word broke their soul. When our own strength failed us. Maos Tzor Yeshuati Lecha Na'eh L'Shabeach Tikom B'Tefilati V'sham Toda Nezabeach Li'etachin Matbeach Mitzaram Nabeach Azekmor B'shir mizmor Hanukkah HaMizbeach Azekmor B'shir mizmor Hanukkah HaMizbeach. Doug, you speak Spanish, right? Linda, do you speak Spanish? Good. Do you speak Ladino? You do. Good. Well, this This is for all my Latin American brothers and sisters. Yolanda, you speak Spanish? I mean, this is a miracle. Usually it's only Irvin. It's a Hanukkah miracle. It's like, you know, we keep getting more Spanish-speaking people, like the oil that lasted. Linda está aquí, 8 candelas para mí. Hanukkah linda está aquí, 8 candelas para mí. Candelicas, 2 candelicas, 3 candelicas, 4 candelicas, 5 candelicas, 6 candelicas, 7 candelicas, 8 candelas para mí. Muchas fiestas vou fazer com alegrias e prazer. Muchas fiestas vou fazer com alegrias e prazer. Candelas para mí. I can never sing this verse right, but I'm going to try it anyway. Right? Los pastalicas, that's what it is. Los pastalicas voy comer con almendricas y la miel. Los pastalicas voy comer con almendricas y la miel. Together everyone on the big O. Candelicas, 2 candelicas, 3 candelicas, 4 candelicas, 5 candelicas, 6 candelicas, 7 candelicas, 8 candelas para mí. 8 candelas para mí. 8 candelas para mí. 8 candelas para mí. Okay, I'll take it. That's the best we can get. And for the kids, we have one we must do. Benji, come up here and help me sing it. Do you know what song it is? Okay. But he's willing. Do you know this song? Have a little dreidel, I made you out of clay. know that song? Go sit down. All right. Kids, come up here with me if you're 13 or under. Come up here. That step. It doesn't matter if you know it or not, just look good. Sometimes I have to do that. Who knows this song? I have a little dreidel, I made you out of clay, and when you're dry and ready, a dreidel I will play. You know that song? Well, there's the words, okay? Let's just sing it, or maybe you can spin around like dreidels while I play it. Or you don't have to stay up here, you can sit down too. I should have asked you if you wanted to come up here, but Travis and I are gonna play this dreidel song. I'm just helping them overcome a fear. Just making their way up to the front is overcoming a fear. Have a little dreidel, I made you out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. Have a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. Has a lovely body with legs so short and thin. When my dreidel's tired, it drops and then I win. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made you out of clay. When it's dry and ready, the dreidel I shall play. My dreidels always playful, they love to dance and spin. A happy game of dreidel, come play now, let's begin. My dreidels always playful, they love to dance and spin. A happy game of dreidel, come play now, let's begin. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made you out of clay. When you're dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. Dreidel, dreidel, I made you out of clay. When you're dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. Good job, kids. Way to go. Do you know it now? You know the song now? Sure you do. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to leave it there. Is that good? Kelly's like, go ahead and wrap it up on the Hanukkah music. But it is Silent Night. It's Christmas Eve, right? But you know what today is also? It is Chodesh Habanot, I think, which is something I had never actually heard of before, which is a Middle Eastern celebration for Rosh Chodesh Tevet, which is this month, which celebrates the young girls of the Jewish faith. So now you know something that I only learned yesterday. There are some really, really beautiful, they're called Christmas carols, but they're, songs from the scriptures, actually, that talk about it. It doesn't really matter that Yeshua wasn't born on December 25th in terms of celebrating his birth. It's just that we need to play those songs maybe at Sukkot. So we'll call them Sukkot carols, right? We'll do that in October under the Sukkah. Let's stand together for our version of liturgy. And thanks for humoring me. Let me play the songs that I grew up with around the Hanukkah bush. No, just kidding. The menorah. And thank you. Ya-la-la, ya-la-la-la. Ya-la-la, ya-la-la-la. Ya-la-la, ya-la-la-la. Ya-la-la, ya-la-la-la. Baruch hu et Adonai ha-mevorach. Baruch Adonai ha-mevorach le'olam va'ed. לעולם, לעולם, ועד יללי, You may be seated as we declare together the watchword of Israel. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is Echad, He is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Blessed is the name of His glorious kingdom. Blessed is the name for all eternity. Blessed is the name of His glorious kingdom for all eternity. For all eternity. Yeshua, He is my Messiah. He is Lord of all. Yeshua, He is my Messiah. He is Lord of all. He is Lord of all. He is Lord of all. Had to change it because Travis was giving me a new beat back there. I was trying to follow it, but now I need some oxygen. Let's stand together. Open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. That my mouth may declare your praise. Declare your praise. Declare your praise. Declare your praise. Adonai, Shabbat Shalom. The God faithful through all the generations. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot, U'Mevi Goel Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'achava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham. We have the next one. Good. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Atah V'Rav Lechoshia, Mashiva Ruach U'Morid Hagashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Nofalim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim,
ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לך חיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
Blessed are you, O Lord our God, who raises the dead, and the Holy One seated above the heavens.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. To the God who gives us this day of rest and refreshing. And let's just take a minute to, well, we'll do that later. There's a thing for gratitude in this prayer I forgot. This is the day of rest. Baruch Ata Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. To the God restoring his presence to Zion. Baruch Ata Adonai Amachazir Shechinato Letzion. To the God worthy of all thanksgiving. And I'll tell you what, experiences out of the ordinary, like for us, it's very out of the ordinary for it to be this cold. It is an incredible opportunity to thank God for the blessings that you have, a roof, heat. Even this guy who's here working on Christmas Eve to put heat back in here, the knowledge of that God has given people to build and create, and we take so many things for granted. That's what this prayer is. It's always to say, God, you are so good to us. That's why Hatov Shimcha, his name is good. Baruch Ata Adonai Hatov Shimcha Ulchane Elehodo. To the God who gives us peace. Baruch Ata Adonai Yisrael Shalom. Amen. We offer all of our prayers in the name of Yeshua, our Messiah. Avinu Shabashamayim, Yitkadesh Mecha, Tavo Malchutecha, Yeaser Ritzonecha, Kasher Bashamayim Gam Ba'aretz, Et Lachmenu Lemachar, Ten Lanu Hayom, Umechalanu al chovoteinu ka'asher mechalnu gam anachnu lechayaveinu yal tivienu lidei nisayon ki im tatzilenu min hara ki lecha hamamlecha והגבורה והתפארת לעולמי עולמים אמן. For the sake of our Master Yeshua, in his merit and his virtue, may the sins of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be favorable, be favorable, be favorable to you. Oh Lord, my rock, my redeemer. Oh Lord, my rock, my Blessed are you, O Lord our God, the King of the universe, who has given us the way of salvation. In Messiah, Yeshua, Amen. You may be seated. I want to play you guys a country and western song. Anyone ever heard a song called Where I Find God by Larry Fleet? It's like, it's literally a country song from a secular station, but I just want to play it. Can I? Because I think you'll like it. And it's Hanukkah, and it's my Hanukkah gift to you. Kelly is again making a really bad face. Should I not do it? I want to. I gotta try to remember it though. Here we go. This is it. The day I hit rock bottom, I was sitting on an old bar stool. He paid my tab and put me in a cab. He didn't have to. He could see I was hurting. Man, I wish I got his name, 'cause I didn't feel much saving. Save me just the same. A day out on the water, when the fish just wouldn't bite, I lay my pole down and run around. It's just so quiet, I could hear my old man saying, son, just be still. You can't find peace like this in a bottle or a pill. From that bar stool to that heaven room, Sunday morning in a church pew, in a deer stand or a hayfield, interstate back to Nashville, Chevrolet with the windows down, me and him just riding around sometimes. Whether I'm looking for him or not, that's where I find God. Sometimes late at night, I lie there and listen to the sound of her heart beating and the song the crickets are singing. I don't know what they're saying, but it sounds like a hymn to me. I ain't too good at praying, but thanks for everything. From that bar stool to that heavy room, Sunday morning in a church pew, in a deer stand or a hayfield, interstate back to Nashville, Chevrolet with the windows down, me and him just riding around sometimes. Whether I'm looking for him or not, that's where I find God. From a bar stool to that heavy room, Sunday morning in a church pew, in a deer stand or a hayfield, interstate back to Nashville, Chevrolet with the windows down, me and him just riding around talking. I do that a lot.
that's where I find God. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Look for God everywhere. And that might be the only country and western song I ever play you, Andy. Don't get used to it. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Oh Rabbeinu Chai, oh Rabbeinu Chai. Oh Rabbeinu, oh Rabbeinu, oh Rabbeinu Chai. Oh Rabbeinu Chai, oh Rabbeinu Chai. Oh Rabbeinu, oh Rabbeinu, oh Rabbeinu Chai. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
Good morning. Thank y'all so much for coming out in this frozen tundra to join us today. Boy, it's cold. It's cold, and it's not going to get any better for a couple minutes anyway. So, anyway, thank y'all so much for joining us and in live, and on person, I guess, and online and in person. Let me get that straight. My toes are cold, so it makes it harder to think. So, because I can't count, But I got on my polar bear socks today, and so. But anyway, we want to thank Jordan Hedrick from Oliver Springs, Tennessee, Brittany Tenney from Zionsville, Indiana, the Trobaugh family from Dixon, North Dakota. Yeah, real warm. Brenda, what's the temperature in North Dakota right now? Kim Lawson from Pennsylvania, Luann Jolino from San Diego, California, Carl Milzo from Reno, Nevada, Carrie Malazzo. Thanks, thank you. The Frozen Sloshers from Deer Park, Washington, the Lickbergs from Jackson, Georgia. Jasper, okay, yeah, Jasper. I wrote the wrong. Oh, James from Isbanwe, Kenya. Andrea from Brazil, and the Kinches and Gilberts from UK, and last but not least, Sarah Fields from Key West. The only one of us that's warm. So, did she put that temperature up there? No? Okay. All right. Well, we don't have much in announcements coming up. Be looking out for everything at Shalom at Home, all the upgrades and new things coming up. A wonderful way to participate with everything that's going on here. We have Torah Club today at 1:30. We were successful in getting online with the Darren and Lance being out, so we'll be able to be online again today too. And so the only other thing that I know of is that we need to make sure your payment is in for the Israel trip. It is due January 17th, and if you haven't already, include your passport photos, and on those write Eisner 23 so they know exactly what group you're going with. So stay warm, and Shabbat Shalom.
There's one announcement that we didn't put in there because it hasn't really been publicized yet, but the next holiday, we don't have much going on because we're at the end of the holiday season, totally. We just finished Hanukkah. The next thing that will come along is something called Tu B'Shvat. Anyone know what Tu B'Shvat is? Of course you do. It's the new year for trees. And it's coming in either, I think it's in January or February. But like any, and we'll talk about that more when we get to it, but we're going to have for the first time at Shalom Macon a Tu B'Shvat Seder, which is a wonderful experience where you get to thank God for the provision of the trees and the fruits and all kinds of amazing things. Everybody knows what a Passover Seder is. Probably no one has ever been to a Tu B'Shvat Seder. So we're going to have one, and we'll, amazingly, as you're talking about trees and fruits, you also get to see the beauty of Messiah within Tu B'Shvat. So that'll be the next event that's coming our way. Kids, let's go to Shabbat school. And yeah, Dave mentioned Shalom at Home, but there are new classes. Kelly's Musar class starts pretty soon. We've got all kinds of new things. And Pat Petronio is going to be our first online family member who's going to be leading something. She's got quite a level of experience after 30 plus years in Jewish and Messianic Jewish relationships. So she's going to be leading the class called Now What, for people who are relatively new and have questions about what does this world look like that I'm a part of. Yisimcha Elohim ke Ephraim v'chi Menashe. Yisameach Elohim ke Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. Father, bless our children with prosperity and good health and happiness. Can these kids be happy in this world? That would be a great, great thing. Help them to find and be a source of joy for the world. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, yo'er Adonai ponav elecha v'yihuneka, yis Adonai ponav elecha v'yasim lecha shalom. All right, you can go learn something with Miss Debbie or whichever class you're going to. And thank you, Miss Debbie. I know that probably at times I sound like a broken record, but I get a lot of these, and this was another special one, and a particular realization, and it's something that I want you to hear, I want you to connect to. Dave mentioned, I think, Andrea I'm assuming I know who that is in Brazil, but here's a note I got this week. Shalom, Rabbi Damien. Thank you so much. My wife and I live in a small town in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We were looking for a Messianic synagogue to participate in the teachings during Shabbat. We found Shalom Macon through YouTube. Since then, we haven't missed a Shabbat with Shalom Macon. We're a family of 4 people, my wife and 2 daughters, Priscilla and Aileen or Aline, I'm not sure. My daughters don't speak English yet. My parents are pastors of a Christian church. However, we are descendants of a Jewish family. My grandfather and grandmother converted to Christianity about 50 years ago. We didn't have Messianic synagogues here in the region at that time. I believe that because of that, they became Christians and then pastors. My great-grandfather and great-grandmother fled Europe because of the risk to their lives at that time. They settled down here in Brazil, and we are still here today. Thank you for having us in Shalom Macon. We are very happy. And that for me was a breakthrough of sorts related to our work and particularly to our funding and our future plans and year ends. And you know, for most people in ministry, almost all, me included sometimes, there's always a strange hesitation to talk about money and asking for money, and I feel that. But you know, when I read this hit me like a ton of bricks. We found Shalom Macon through YouTube. Since then, we haven't missed a Shabbat with Shalom Macon. Now, this is Brazil. This is Brazil. Descendants of European Jewish immigrants looking for a Messianic synagogue to participate in. They're here with us, hopefully right now. Hi, Susas, hopefully. That's Glauber and they are here, right? Okay, cool. So for me, you have done that. That's the thing. You have made that possible by being faithful givers to Shalom Macon and the support. And for me, and by the way, the participation with people from all around the world, 12 countries and all over the United States that support the work here, have already done something for the year-end campaign, signed up and participating in this recurring building campaign that we're just getting started. It's amazing. But what I realize is, for me to be afraid or hesitant to ask you to participate in what we're building is just dumb. It's dumb for me to be hesitant about that, because I don't know all that God has planned or what we'll do, but I know that we've been faithful to this point to follow His lead. And that's what we're doing. So when I read Glauber's message, I realized, here's what we're doing and here's what we're not doing, okay? I'm not going to timidly, sheepishly move forward asking, hey, do you think maybe you could check down in the couch cushions, or maybe, in your change drawer, or maybe throw a few dollars toward the work. We're really hoping something good comes. Now, something good is coming. It's already happening. Something good is happening every week and through Shalom at Home and all these things. And because of you, because of your support, because of what you do, stuff like reaching the Souzas and Quentin in South Africa, who sent us a gift for the year-end. South Africa, that's a long way off. But it's because of what we are doing together. The Kinches, as I said, 12 countries, and all this. So we're not going to be sheepish or timid about that. We are going to move forward confidently. I'll ask you to help build the financial resources so we can build the community locally for Macon, for Georgia, and for disciples all over the world. Now that sounds dramatic. Glauber Souza's message confirms it is not dramatic, because it is happening. And people in Brazil, a family of Jewish immigrants, Holocaust fleers who settled there, are now with us every week and part of the family. That's, to me, pretty dramatic. And I think it's incredible. And so I believe that right before, this isn't the teaching, don't worry, I'm not going to spend the next time talking about money, but I'm going to talk about humility, actually. But before I do that, I'm going to humbly ask, as we come to the last week of 2022, if you're able, make a donation a year into the work of Shalom Macon so we can do more of what we're doing, so that we can strengthen disciples in God, in Messiah, through a Messianic Jewish understanding. Now listen, if you are watching this, if you're listening to this, we have a podcast. Yeah, there is a podcast beyond YouTube. If you get something out of what we do, if there's something valuable here, consider it. And $18 a month, that's a great number. That means life in Chai, in Hebrew. Chai, the number 18 is life. Consider setting up something. There's a QR code that you can do, and you can take a picture of it, and it takes you to the place. There's also a link, which will shalommacon.org/give. shalommacon.org/give. Consider becoming a supporter of this work, because really, we're just getting started. I'm asking that confidently, not in timidity, because I believe that. There's a place you can set up recurring giving, if that's something that you want to do as well, right down there on the bottom. So we have a way to make that easy for you. Now, everyone who's blessed by what we do, thank you. Thank you. Your prayers are valuable, everything. My commitment to you is that we will keep our ear to heaven and our hand to the plow, and we will not look back, because he who does that is not fit for the kingdom of heaven. So I wanted to say that before we go forward. And the journey forward is not always easy. As a matter of fact, this is what the journey forward looks like for a lot of people. Blake, show me this other picture I have for you. Okay? Can anyone relate to this picture? Well, I'll tell you somebody who definitely can relate to that picture, and his name is Yosef. His name is Joseph, and he is in our Torah portions right now. And we missed the intro to his story last week, but I can summarize it for you real quick. You ready? Joseph is the favorite of his dad. He ascends to a position of prominence. His dad loves him most. His brothers hate him. They want to kill him, but they say, let's not kill him. Let's trade him into slavery. Let's throw him into a pit. So he ascends, and then he does what? Descends into the literal pit. He gets picked up out of that pit, goes to Egypt, sold into slavery, but there ascends. He rises to second command in Potiphar's house. He ascends to this position of prominence. Now, Joseph is a stud. Or as the Bible states, Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. Translation, stud. And Mrs. Potiphar liked what she saw. And she said, hey, Joseph, let's connect. Joseph said, no, let's not connect. And she said, oh yeah? Accused him of rape. Joseph, who had ascended yet again, descends further down, this time into the pit of prison, a darker pit. But there again, what happens? Joseph rises to prominence. He becomes basically in command. He's running the jail. He makes some friends. He interprets some dreams. Cupbearer, you'll live. Baker, not so good. Remember me, he says to the cupbearer, when you get in front of Pharaoh, remember what I've done for you, please. Help me, I shouldn't be here. And of course, the dreams that Joseph interprets come true. The cupbearer lives, he's saved, he's restored to his position. And last week's Torah portion, which I just summarized, ends like this. And the chief of the drink stewards did not remember Joseph, and he forgot him. And that is the worst yet. The hope for ascent, Joseph doing the right thing, taking action, helping, no, forgotten. The furthest descent, stuck in prison for 2 more years, and that's where it ends. And this week, the Torah portion picks up with, and it was at the end of the 2 years' time. Man, what a crappy life. Huh? And for a guy who had so much promise. Because if you'll remember, Joseph pretty much had it figured out, didn't he? Joseph had his dreams early on in the Torah portions, and everyone, he said, is going to bow down to me. Joseph's image, Blake, put that one back up there for me. Joseph's image, his life plan was the bike. Well, I don't know where Blake is, but anyway, here he is. Travis, you can put it up. The image of the bike going to the checkered flag, that's Joseph's dream. And here's what he told everybody. Hey, please listen to this dream which I had. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf stood up and also remained standing. And behold, your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to my sheaf. His brothers really liked that one, didn't they? And then he had a second dream. Informed his brothers, behold, I've had yet another dream, and behold, the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. He told it to his father and his brothers, and his father rebuked him. What is this dream you've had? Am I and your mother and your brothers actually going to come and bow down to the ground before you? But that was Joseph's plan. That was his understanding. But that is certainly not the way it goes initially. And again, the graphic. But there's an interesting consideration here that we're going to keep hearing in various portions. God was with him, it says. God was with him. Now, and the Lord was with Joseph, so he became a successful man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. The master saw that his Lord was with him. And then later, but the Lord was with Joseph and extended kindness to him and gave him favor in the sight of the warden of prison. And the warden of the prison did not supervise anything under Joseph's authority because the Lord was with him. So the God of the universe is with Joseph in all this mess. Now, that would be hard to recognize, wouldn't it? If you're Joseph? Because listen, if this is what it looks like when God is with me, That my brothers want to kill me, throw me in a pit, sell me as a slave, then I'm accused falsely, then I'm in prison. If that's what it looks like when God is with me, then maybe I'll give it a shot on my own. Because how much worse could it actually get, really? But the interesting thing is that Joseph was also with God. Because when Potiphar's wife accuses him, he says, how could I do this great evil and sin against God? In the prison, they say, we had a dream. No one can interpret it. And Joseph says, well, you know what? Interpretations belong to God, but tell it to me. So interestingly, we have this strange Proverbs 16:9 situation, which says, the mind of a person plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. You make plans. God directs your steps. That's a difficulty, actually. Because Joseph had a plan, and so did God. And despite all of the hellacious difficulties, Joseph held on, and ultimately, those roads did converge in the end. Here's a little Yiddish lesson for you. Man tracht und Gott lacht. Say it, Dave. There we go, perfect. Man tracht und Gott lacht. It's an old adage meaning man plans and God laughs. Man plans and God laughs. Now, I might edit that just a little bit and say, I can't say it in Yiddish, man plans and God teaches. Man plans and God teaches. Because I don't think God or Joseph found too much funny about the situations in which Joseph found himself. However, I would submit to you that Joseph, despite all of his awesomeness, had things to learn. His brothers disliked him for a reason. He was cocky. He was not hesitant at all to tell them that they would be in a position of servitude. His own father rebuked him for his approach to that situation. Even when dealing with I told you about the positive response to Potiphar's wife when she was coming after him, but we still get a little sense of maybe a little bit of pride in Joseph when he says to her, look with me here, my master, he doesn't concern himself with anything in the house. He's put me in charge of all that he owns. There is no one greater in this house than I, Joseph says. So apparently at this point, he hasn't really taken the old humble pie yet. In other words, I'm a pretty big deal, lady. And of course he does say, how could I sin against my master or God? But he could have said all that without saying the first part. He could have just said, I can't do that. I can't sin against God. He didn't have to do that. But Joseph had plans. He knew he was going somewhere, but apparently God needed him to take some detours. Because apparently, if God was with him, and it says he was, he orchestrated the ascents and the descents, the ups and the downs. Which allows me to refer for, I don't know how many times in 14 years I've used this Hasidic adage, but I'll use it again, because there is no more appropriate time than every descent is for the sake of a future ascent. That is a Hasidic teaching. Every descent is for the sake of a future ascent. What did Joseph need to learn? I don't know exactly, but possibly humility, which servitude and imprisonment will certainly help you develop a sense of humility. That will happen. Possibly some stronger reliance on God. He was He was clearly gifted, even down to his physical appearance. The wisdom of Solomon says, when a righteous man, that's Joseph, when a righteous man was sold, wisdom did not desert him, but delivered him from sin. Wisdom descended with him into the dungeon, and when he was in prison, she did not leave him until she brought him the scepter of a kingdom and authority over his masters. Wisdom, Joseph had wisdom. But he also, of course, needed to know that none of it was going to happen without God. And it's interesting to note his interpretation of dreams from his first one with his brothers and his dad to the other dreams that he interprets. When he tells the brothers these things, he doesn't say anything about God. He says, hey, guess what? Get ready to hit your knees, sheaf, because I'm going to be standing tall. But when the other, notice the way he approaches it, I already referenced it. When the cupbearer comes, he says, do interpretations not belong to God? When he goes before Pharaoh, Joseph answered Pharaoh, it has nothing to do with me. God will give Pharaoh an answer for his own good. And somewhere from the interpretation of dreams to the telling dreams to his brothers to these interpretations of Pharaoh's dreams, God is preparing him in the most important of lessons which he will need, and it is tied to humility, mercy, and forgiveness, which interestingly takes us right back to last week's lesson and the seemingly enigmatic, the weird placement of Tamar and Judah. You remember, right in the middle of the story of Joseph, we find Tamar and Judah. And we learned, what did we learn? Tamar had humility. So did Judah, actually. It was sort of forced on him. But Tamar was the hero. She demonstrated her mercy toward Judah. Her plan was all messed up and disrupted. But she did not ruin Judah's life. She had him right where she wanted him, and she let him go, in essence. We talked about, that's weird. Why is that there? It's a story of humility. It's a story about mercy and forgiveness, and it's a story and a lesson that Joseph really needed to know, I think. Not Tamar and Judah. He needed to learn mercy and forgiveness. And this week, listen, this week in Portion Miketz, Joseph has the last laugh. His dreams about his brothers, they've all come true. The brothers have made their way to Egypt. What are they doing? They're begging him, basically. They're bowing down, in essence, before their brother. It's actually, it's even better than the 17-year-old cocky Joseph might have imagined. It's even better. They're all there. He's got them. But multiple times we see Joseph for who he is. Chapter 42, it says, he turned from them and he wept. 43, he sees Benjamin and he weeps. Next week at the revealing, there is no anger from Joseph when he reveals himself to his brothers. He wept out loud, it says, and Pharaoh heard and Egypt heard. Joseph was humble and merciful, but this was the time for revenge. He had them for all that they had done to him. The slavery, for the prison, for the suffering, the missing out on real life for all these years. They had done that to him, but Joseph didn't see it that way. And again, getting ahead, this is next week's Parsha, but we see what his trouble has taught him. God was with him, and he says to them, now don't be sad and let there be no anger in your eyes. In your eyes? They have a right to be angry? But he says, let there be no anger in your eyes because you sold me here, because God sent me before you to preserve life. God sent me here. That's a big acknowledgement to the people who hurt you so badly. But I firmly believe in all of Joseph's troubles, he did what the greatest people do, as he descended and as he stayed down, because sometimes the descent is not momentary. Sometimes the descent is for a while and you're down there. He stayed down and he learned the lessons on the way down, and he remembered them and he applied them on the way up. He never forgot them. He did his part. Because, listen, it's great to say every descent is for the sake of a future ascent, and we can say, yeah, man, that's good. But the thing is, you need to add to that. Look for the lesson on the way down. When you're down, look for the lesson. Look for what God actually wants you to learn, that he orchestrated a descent for you. Maybe you did by bad choices, but I'm talking about this situation where God is with you. Look for the lesson. Learn from your mistakes. God doesn't always give you visions and dreams and people to tell you everything. Sometimes you have to do it. Rabbi Sachs, you have a plan, you play a part, but Rabbi Sachs this week, he says, there's no achievement without effort. This is the first principle. God saved Noah from the flood, but he had to build the ark. God promised Abraham the land, but he had to buy the cave of Machpelah. God promised the Israelites the land, but they had to fight the battles. Joseph became a leader as he dreamed he would, but first he had to hone his practical and admin skills. Even when God tells us something will happen, it won't happen usually without your effort. There are difficult lessons that we learn as we traverse the path as part of the plan. We need those lessons to arrive at what should be a picture of that checkered flag up there. We need those lessons to hit the mark, to reach the goal, to succeed, because we need something that's called dishmaya, siyata dishmaya, the help of heaven. We need the humility to acknowledge that we are dependent on forces that are not under our control. They are under the control of God. He credited God, Joseph, for all of his successes. I believe probably later he did that. I don't know that when he was in the bottom of the bottom, he's again saying, thank you, God, thank you, God. And that's not a requirement. But look for the lesson. Don't miss that. Out of his humility came mercy. And that mercy led to success. So there's your plan. Your plan, in our minds, always looks like the top image. That's what we imagine. I got a great thing. God's really given me the opportunity. I'm going to do something great, and I'm headed straight for it. I can tell you that almost nothing in life that is ever worth anything looks like that plan on the top. Almost nothing ever looks like that in life's great accomplishments. We descend to learn. We ascend stronger, more connected to God, more faithful, hopefully. And no one said that was easy. Just ask Joseph. It is the ultimate opportunity for the victim mentality. Joseph never does it. He never does it. That's the other lesson we should learn, but that's a different message. Don't be a victim. Don't be a victim. And I'll conclude Genesis with that, I think, but that's a little bit later. Just ask Joseph. Sometimes it's hard, but thousands of years later, we read these ancient words, and they're still speaking to us right now, today. Some of you have difficult situations. Your plan isn't being realized. It doesn't really mean anything. Just ask Joseph. They speak to us, they inspire us, they challenge us to face challenges. And I say, embrace that. Embrace the difficulty of life. Embrace it. Now, I can't say that casually or condescendingly. I don't know everything that you guys are facing. You can't say to somebody who's terminally ill, hey man, Baruch Hashem, praise God for that. That's awesome. or someone who's been a victim of abuse, hey, that's for the good, enjoy it. That's not what I'm saying at all. But in everything, look for a lesson so that the ascent is even more powerful. So whatever the difficulties are, I pray that thousands of years later, these words still speak to you, and even in difficulty, that they give you strength for the ascent that inevitably will come your way if God is with you and you are with God. Shabbat Shalom. Let's stand up together. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת חיום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד. On that day, the Lord will be one, and his name will be one. Now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you his peace. B'Shem Yeshua. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Yo'er Adonai ponav elecha v'yihuneka. Yisa Adonai ponav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shabbat Shalom, my friends. If you are spending time with your family who aren't in the Messianic synagogue tonight or tomorrow, enjoy. Be a blessing wherever you go.